My name is Dimitrios Eustriachios, and this is the story of the fall of the city the whole world desired. It will not be told through the eyes of great commanders or men of legend, but through the eyes of a humble soldier who swore to defend his people. I stood on the wall not because I was brave. I stood there because there was nowhere else to stand. My words will not echo through the winds of time, but my deeds will live long after I have left this world. It was a quiet April morning when suddenly all the bells began to sing. They were not to celebrate the second day of Easter, but to announce the storm of our lifetime. We had known for a long time that they would come. We prepared. We trained. We bled. We hoped and prayed that the tide of darkness would be washed away by the light. In the last years before, we were suffocated. From the walls, we saw them, a never-ending column of men, animals, and carts, coming and camping just beyond the range of our bombards. They shouted and beat their drums in frenzy, hoping we would break at their mere sight. They taunted us. They laughed at us. Some of them, who perhaps believed that they were immortal, came too close to our walls. When our bombards and arquebuses fired, they fell to the ground, breathless and silent. The first blood to nourish the land before our walls was theirs. They rushed to their death before they could set up their tents. I do not know if it was courage or vanity. Dead men all look the same. In the days that followed, the bombards began to speak. Day and night, they hammered our walls, but the great walls still stood. Whatever cracks appeared, whatever small breaches were torn open, we filled them with wood, stone, sweat, and blood. Sometimes they came with siege engines, rolling them forward under cover of smoke and noise. We went out. We burned them. And when we returned behind the walls, we returned with hope. Father Theopistos blessed us before every sortie. I still remember his words.
Go with God. Return with your brothers.
Some of the men who had nearly fainted on the first day when they saw the invading host now dared to hope. Perhaps it was divine intervention. Perhaps it was stubborn resilience. After they had cried, after fear and despair had run through us, we saw that they could be stopped. And that night, we laughed. For every brother we lost, we made them pay dearly. We fought side by side with mercenaries. We fought together with Latins and Turks. Some of them came for money. Some of them came for glory. Initially, I hated them. Now, I am glad that they are here. Thunder struck our walls. One blow shattered one of our towers. We had never seen or heard anything like it before. It came 3, sometimes 4 times a day. But when it struck, we did not only hear it, we felt it. The earth moved, the walls crumbled. When the walls opened, only the iron will of Greek and Latin mercenaries stood against the tide. They began to fill the ditches before our walls, slowly building their way toward us, but the ditches became their grave. I fought alongside a Thessalian regiment inside the siege tunnels beneath the city. We found the miners, and they were not Turks. We collapsed the galleries behind us. That was the first time I felt true fear. Not fear of battle, but fear of dying like a rat underground, engulfed by fire and smoke. It became clear, slowly but steadily, that we were fewer with each passing day. It did not matter to me. I fought. I bled. I endured. Among us stood a Latin commander, Justiniani. He fought side by side with his men, swung his sword, aiming his crossbow with deadly precision. If only we had more men like him, we would not have been the ones besieged. When the Turks came at night, the Latin archers became shadows. They struck from the darkness. One arrow meant one less enemy. On the 14th day, there was silence. We were no longer used to silence. Father Theopistos argued with a fellow soldier Constantinos about what it might mean. I hoped it was not the silence before the storm. The bells rang again. This time, not to announce disaster, but long-awaited supplies and soldiers. Father Theopistos came at dawn to bless us. He told us that reinforcements had arrived and that a great Venetian fleet was on its way to lift the siege. I felt pride. I felt renewed. We would hold the walls. We would prevail. But soon, the Turks brought their ships overland into the Golden Horn. You can say many things about them, but they were full of surprises. I watched as many of our soldiers were moved to defend the harbors and the sea walls. Constantinos was among them. It was the last time I ever saw him. Sleep became a luxury. Incursions grew more frequent with each passing night. We fought bravely. There was a story my father once told me. 300 of our ancestors had faced 100,000 Persians. We had their bravery. I prayed we would not share their fate. On the 43rd day of the siege, a devilish contraption rose before our walls, taller than the battlements, more imposing than the great Ottoman cannons. It took nearly 300 of us to bring it down. We never spoke of it openly, but we all shared the same thought. If the relief fleet would not arrive in time, there would be no city left to save. There was no more hope. We would fall. We would die. That was what I heard after the lunar eclipse. Some believed it was the final omen, that the end was near. I still held on to hope. I fought side by side with the Latins, and every time the Turks assaulted our walls, we made them pay dearly. As the sun set, lightning struck Hagia Sophia. Some priests whispered that it was the final sign that God had abandoned the city. I could not understand that. We had fought and died in his name. That evening, the Basileus and several dukes came near the walls. He spoke with soldiers and mercenaries alike. He stopped in front of me. He looked me in the eye and saluted me. Even wounded and burdened by despair, to stand before the Basileus was an honor beyond words. In that moment, I did not see an emperor. I saw one of us, the greatest of all. At dawn, the final assault began. Early attacks turned into relentless waves. We rallied and held the northern section of the walls, beating back the Janissaries again and again. Then panic spread. The line broke. I heard the name whispered like a curse. Giustiniani had fallen, and many of the mercenaries fled toward the sea. We were sent to seal the breach near the gate of St. Romanus. We fought. We held. But they kept coming. In the afternoon, the Imperial Guard arrived, together with what remained of the Varangian Guard. They charged straight into the enemy. The Turks fell, one by one, but there were too many of them. Only later did I learn that the man leading them was Constantine, the emperor, the best of us. He died as we did, as ordinary soldiers. The Ottoman troops pushed us toward the shores. There, with nowhere left to run, I made my last stand. 3 of them came for me, and with the last strength I had, I struck them down. I looked back at Constantinople. There was no city left, only fire, only death. I found a small boat and pushed it into the water. I left with a broken heart and a thought that would haunt me for the rest of my life. No stories would be written about me. I would not be remembered as a hero. History would remember me only as one of the 8,000 who fought in the last battle of Constantinople, and perhaps that is enough.